Maybe Ijaw. And tell it that talk friends, no.
3 years I carried this marriage on my back. Today, I will watch it bury itself.
Maybe Ijaw. And tell it that talk friends, no.
We are gathered today hurriedly because our sister Melody travels in 2 days. 2 days is enough to make you mine. The rest, the UK cannot take from us.
1 year, Nestor. I'll work, I'll save, I'll send everything home. You will build us a house. By the time I return, we will only need to move in.
1 year,
I want savage juice.
I promise you.
2 days after that wedding, Melody boarded a flight to the United Kingdom. She left with a promise in her chest and a ring on her finger. 1 year, Nestor had said. 1 year, and she would come home to a house already standing, a life already waiting. She believed him. For 3 years, Melody worked double shifts in a care home outside London. She sent money home almost every month. Sometimes it was for land, sometimes it was for cement, for blocks, for the roofing sheets that would crown the duplex Nestor promised to build for them in the mainland. Every time she called, Nestor had an update, a new photo, a new excuse for why the building was taking longer than planned. She never once suspected that the photos he sent her were old, recycled, the same half-finished compound, photographed months apart, sent to her again and again, as if it were new progress. She never knew that while she counted her tip money in a cold London winter, Nestor was spending it in Port Harcourt on a woman named Blessing Sakari. Blessing gave him something Melody, far away, could not: nearness, attention, and eventually a son. He named the boy Daniel, and quietly, without telling anyone, he registered the one house he actually managed to complete, not in his name, not in Melody's name, but in his son's.
By the 3rd year, Melody had had enough of waiting. She told her employers she was done. She told Nestor she was finally coming home, for good this time. And he asked her for one favor. Let it be a surprise. Don't tell her mother. Don't tell his people. Let her simply walk into the home they built and find him there, the way it was always supposed to be. Melody agreed, but the moment her call ended, his smile fell from his face like a mask, because Melody coming home for good meant only one thing: the truth was coming home with her. He sat alone that night, turning over every possible way to keep his secret buried, and by morning his mind had settled on something far darker than another lie. When Melody landed, Nestor was waiting at the airport exactly as he promised. He smiled, he embraced her, he told her he had one more surprise before they went to the house, something even better than a finished duplex. She believed him. She always believed him. In the car, her eyes grew heavy faster than they should have. She thought it was simply exhaustion from the flight. She did not know what he had slipped into her drink before they left. By the time they reached a quiet, narrow path deep in Ijaw land, a path no one else walked, beside a river known for its rough, boisterous current, Melody was already gone to the world. What happened next, Nestor had planned for weeks. A wheelchair to move her quietly without drawing attention. A lonely stretch of water, deep enough and fast enough to make sure no one would ever find her, and no one would ever trace her disappearance back to him. He believed he had thought of everything. He did not know that high above him in a palm tree, a wine tapper named Tamuno was just beginning his evening tap. Tamuno saw what Nestor did. He said nothing. He did nothing until Nestor turned and walked back up that path alone. Then Tamuno moved faster than he had moved in years, down the tree, into the water, his hands finding her in the dark current before the river could finish what Nestor started. He pulled her to the bank. He forced the water from her lungs with his own 2 hands. And when Melody finally coughed, finally breathed, finally opened her eyes, Tamuno told her the only thing that mattered in that moment. She was not finished here yet. For days, Melody stayed hidden in Tamuno's modest home, nursed back by his wife's pepper soup and his family's quiet protection. The fear took time to leave her body. The fire took less time to arrive. Her own husband had drugged her, wheeled her down a lonely path, and pushed her into a river meant to erase her completely.
She was not interested in revenge for its own sake. She was interested in something colder, something more precise: accountability. While she healed, she made calls to the land agent who confirmed no property had ever been completed in her name, to her old bank records, every transfer, every receipt, every promise, reduced now to evidence. Meanwhile, in Port Harcourt, Nestor told a different story. He told his family Melody had abandoned the marriage, that she'd found another man in London, that she was never coming back. And once enough time had passed, he did something even bolder. He proposed to Blessing, a real wedding this time, to finally make his secret family his official one, and to bury what was left of Melody's name under a celebration loud enough that no one would ever ask questions again. Blessing said yes, glowing, unaware of exactly how much blood, or near blood, paid for the comfort she now lived in. The wedding was set, the hall was decorated in gold and white, and on that day, as guests gathered and laughter filled the compound, a woman in a plain burgundy dress walked quietly through the gate. 3 years, she thought, watching the celebration ahead of her. 3 years I carried this marriage on my back. Today, I will watch it bury itself.
She stepped forward. The crowd noticed her first. Then the whispers reached the high table, and Nestor looked up to see the wife he buried, standing very much alive, walking straight toward him. What followed was not loud at first, just her voice, calm and steady, asking him if he was surprised, if he had truly believed a river could keep a secret forever. Nestor tried to call her a liar. He tried to call her an abandoner of marriage. But Melody had brought more than her presence. She had the call confirming her return, the transfer records for property that never existed, and standing just behind her, a witness who had pulled her from that very river with his own 2 hands. Tamuno stepped forward and said it plainly, the way he said everything. He had seen Nestor push her into that water himself. He would say it again before any policeman who asked. The hall that had been laughing moments before fell into stunned, furious silence. Blessing's father rose from his seat, demanding to know what kind of man he had welcomed into his daughter's life. Family members who had praised Nestor that very morning stepped back from him as if his name itself had become contaminated. By evening, it was the police, not the wedding guests, surrounding Nestor as he was led away in handcuffs, the same decorations he had hung to celebrate his new beginning, fluttering uselessly behind him.
Blessing sat outside on the ground, weeping, her son Daniel confused beside her, inheriting a confusion that was never his to carry. And a little distance away, Melody stood beside the man who saved her, watching it all unfold without satisfaction, only release. He thought the river would keep his secret forever, she said quietly. The river kept you instead, Tamuno answered. Melody looked toward the horizon, calm for the first time in 3 long years. She had gone away to build a home. She came back instead to rebuild herself. But she was here. She was alive. And no man's lie, however carefully planted, outlives the truth. A river chooses to return.